So next, in terms of vulnerability, we should also talk about licensing because there is this thought that open source software means it's just free software, and that's not entirely true. Open source means it's freely available, but you might have some licenses you have to deal with in order to use the freely available software inside of your software. Depending on your organization, you really might have to take this seriously. So before I talk about licensing, I need to reference I am not a lawyer. Please take everything I say with a grain of salt. Do your own research. And if you're a member of a large organization that does employ very actual lawyers, you should probably talk to them about some of this stuff and see what's important versus not important. The part I need to point out is that licensing, there are a lot of licenses. If we go to opensource.org/licenses, they will tell you about most of the licenses out there. And in general, we really only worry about the quote popular licenses, the Apache license, the BSD3 newer revised license, the GNU general public license. MIT license is very popular. There's also things like Creative Commons or the Mozilla public license. And most good open source software will have one of these licenses. And they're pretty unrestrictive. And they'll say, you can use our stuff. We want you to use our stuff. Some of them might say, just tell people that you use our stuff. Or they say, if you alter our software, you have to make sure that the new version is freely available. A lot of them will say, well, if you update the software, commit it back into the main project so everyone can have the benefit of the changes that you've made. It's against the license that if you take someone's code, you change it or let's say improve on it, but don't give it out freely to anyone that might want it. That's breaking the license. There's a lot of licenses out there. Which one you use, which ones you consume, really depends on you. And this actually came to light a couple weeks ago because of React. And hopefully everyone on the chat has heard of React. It's a very popular client-side framework by the folks at Facebook. But it was licensed specifically under a license called BSD plus patents license. And no one noticed this. Folks were using React all over the place. They said, this is the greatest thing we've ever used. No, don't use Angular. Folks were really passionate about React and everyone was using it. Some of the licensing bodies came and said the BSD plus patents license is very restrictive. No one really understood that until a couple good folks jumped in and asked the what if questions with the BSD plus license, patents license. And generally what it says is that you can freely use React. It is copyrighted by Facebook. It is used by Facebook or owned by Facebook, and they are granting you what's called a usage license. So you can use React in any way, shape, or form, unless you want to sue Facebook. So here's the example. All right, so if I want to sue Facebook, if I infringe on any of their patents, or if they have, or if I have a patent that they might possibly want to have, any of those use cases automatically revoke my license to React, meaning I cannot use React anymore. And the best example that I saw when I was reading up on this a couple of weeks ago was, let's imagine you're building an interface for refrigerators. And your interface for refrigerators, so like a refrigerator touchscreen, and you use React on the front end because React is a really good framework. So you use React, you build out your interface, and everything's great, good to go. But Facebook, it wasn't good enough for them to get into the virtual reality stuff with Oculus. They now want to get into the refrigerator market. So by getting into the refrigerator market, they want to build the same thing that you have already built. So you're kind of the market leader on refrigerator UI technology, and Facebook wants a part of that action. Because they want it, and you own the patent or the claim to it, the fact that they just want it now invalidates your patent or invalidates your usage license to React. So if you were to go to court over this, and you get up in front of the judge and you say, look, we have this technology, we're not going to just freely give it to Facebook. Facebook can come and say, well, you're technically using it illegally, or you built it illegally because we don't grant you a usage license to React, to use React. So all your months and months, if not years, of development effort for your awesome new patented refrigerator UI technology, it's all mute, because the fact that Facebook wanted it and would go after it invalidated your usage license. And this is a very dangerous situation. Even though Facebook came back and said, no, that's not what the purpose of it was. Our lawyers told us to use it, but we would never do that. And you can trust Facebook, right? I mean, I trust Facebook. We all trust Facebook. Well, the community came back and said, all right, this is not acceptable. If you're using React, we strongly encourage you to stop using React. Enough people's voices were heard that on September 22nd, Facebook changed the license. And it's now relicensed under a less restrictive license. I don't remember exactly which one off the top of my head, but I have a link here on the screen to the React relicense, where Facebook says exactly what they were trying to do. So it's a good read. Everyone can use React again. Life moves on. Now, really, should you be worried? And it depends on what type of business you are. I am an independent software developer. I work on very small projects in the main scheme of things, but I have worked for very large businesses, and large businesses have, most importantly, money. They have employees, they have risk. So if I was a big business, maybe a banking company or some sort of government agency, I would be worried, because I have now given way too much power to Facebook over the control of my well-being, of my software. If you're just a little independent startup, you probably wouldn't care, because there's very little odds of Facebook taking you to court over one of these things. And as with most open source software, you could probably break the license every which way you wanted to. No one's going to notice, because you're not big enough to matter. But if you're a big business, I use banks as examples. Banks have money, so people are more likely to sue a bank because they have money, and they'll pay the people off to get them off their backs.